Hi there everyone, my name is Jason and today I'm going to be explaining to you how to play the Battlestar Galactica board game. It is one of my favorite games to play. I've played it for the past couple of years, every week or so with a certain group of friends, and every now and then we have a new person join the group, so I am the one who has to explain it to them. And I have no problem doing so, and I know this game in and out. Forgive the amateurness of this video. I just took a bunch of Google images and that's all I really have to work with right now. I would actually showcase you the actual game, but I don't actually have it on me right now. So, getting into it, there are three versions of this game. Here you see the main board game, and then you have two expansion packs. One is called the Pegasus expansion, and one's called the Exodus expansion. For the purposes of this video, I won't be covering Exodus as I don't actually have it, and I haven't actually played it. My group is trying to get it. We're very excited for it, but for now we just have the Pegasus expansion. So, getting right into it, this is the board as you see it in play. There are many elements to it, and it may seem confusing at first, but I will go over it in detail. If there are any questions, you can always just ask in the comments. I'm free to answer any questions. So, first off, this is your Battlestar. This is the Galactica, and there are different sections on it. There are little areas where your character can go, and when you pick a character, you'll get a little icon. As you can see here, they have two icons here, and you can move around the ship on your turn. Each character gets their own set of skill cards, and that's these colors down here. You have politics, leadership, tactical, piloting, and engineering. Now they each have different effects, and we'll go over those later. Now, with the add-on of the Pegasus expansion, they have this extra ship over here, which is called the Pegasus, ironically enough, and it has 4 extra places to go. It also adds a new type of skill card called treachery cards, which are most of the time, if not all, negative in effect. So, going on from there, you have the different types of ships. In the Battlestar universe, there are the humans and the Cylons. This is a human Viper, and this is a human Raptor. For the purposes of the board game, the Raptor is used not very often. Certain cards will use it. It's mostly just meant for scouting, and we'll go over that later. This is the Viper, like I said, and it is your main fighter. It'll be flying outside your main ship, and it will be defending your ship from the enemy ships. These are the enemy ships. They're called Cylon Raiders, and they're basically the equivalent of the Viper. This is called a Heavy Raider, and I don't actually have a picture of the piece there, but this is it. It's much like that, and basically they board your ship, and they can hurt you from the inside, which is, as I can say, not good. This is what's called a base star. This is essentially the Cylon equivalent to your Battlestar. It is like the main mothership of which all of the small pieces and the Heavy Raiders will go through, and they can launch that way. Okay, and these are very bad. There are only 2 in the entire game at a time to keep it fair, because there could be a lot of ships on your screen at one time. So, this is the main game. As you see, you have the base star and 3 raiders here with your Vipers out there. Now these things are called civilian ships, and they cannot fight back. And if the raiders get to the civilian ships, they destroy them, and you lose resources. Now up here on the top, you'll have these 4 dials here. Those are your resources. You have fuel, food, morale, and population. If any of those go down to 0, humans lose, and that is not a very good thing if you are a human. If you are a Cylon, which we'll go over that later, you win if any of those resources go down to 0. Okay? So the way the ships work is that when they get placed on the board, they'll usually be placed in one of these 4 quadrants here, and if they are launched from a base star, they will go in the same area as the base star. Now, the raiders here, if the card is to activate raiders, they'll go towards the left or right respectively until they get to the bottom here where these 2 little hangar bays here, they try and get there. The only exception to that is if there's a civilian ship or a Viper here. Usually they'll go for the civilian ships. So if there's a civilian ship here and there was a raider here, it would fly over there and then attack the civilian ship before it would go all the way around to attack the Viper. Now, losing civilian ships is not good because you will lose resources when they are destroyed, and resources go down and you lose. So this is a more detailed seeing of it. You have your fuel, food, morale, and population. There's a little counter there, and it just turns to the counterclockwise, and it'll go all the way down to 0. You can add resources, which is always good. There is a cap, I think, of like 16 for population, etc. But yes, anyway, so the point of the humans is to get to Earth. That is their entire point. At the end of each turn, you'll draw what's called a crisis card, and on the crisis, it'll tell you if you have a jump token. The jump token will add a little marker here, and every time you get a jump token, it'll go up 1. When it gets to the end here, so that's 5 jumps, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, the ship will auto jump, and you will do a light speed jump. So the board is cleared, and you start again with a new destination in mind. What the point of the game is to get 8 destinations, and then make another jump, and humans win. If, however, you are under a massive assault or onslaught, and you only have your token in one of these 2 areas here, the blue markers, you can go to an area of the ship called FTL control and force jump the ship. Now, when you force jump the ship, you have to make a dice roll, and depending on where you are, there's little numbers here. It'll tell you if you get a higher than that, then you will lose population because you'll leave ships behind. You make an emergency jump, and that's what it is. Those heavy raiders that I was telling you about, if they go back around to here and they get to the red area here, and then once they get activated one more time, they will enter the ship. Oops. Anyways, and they will go on to here. There'll be a marker placed here. Every time that heavy raiders are activated again, you'll add another icon here. If it happens 5 times, humans lose. You can go to a certain area of the ship. Where is it? Let me find it here. Oops, there it is. You can go to a certain area of the ship, the armory, and you can actually roll dice to fight them off and kill them off. Okay? Now, let's see here. Moving on. At the beginning of the game, you'll choose a character. Now, this is Kareth Thrace, aka Starbuck, which is her character. She is one of the characters in the show, and she's one of the humans. Her specialization is she's a pilot. There are many different specializations. There is support, where they can like fix the ship if it gets damaged, or anything along those lines. You have leadership, which is mostly like making the big decisions and like adding to the skill checks, which we'll talk about later. You have like piloting, as this one is, right? And there's like political, who can help increase the resources and all that stuff. Every character has 2 positives and 1 negative, as well as a setup. Now, the setup is where they start in the game. So her setup says hangar deck. So she would start at the very beginning of the game in the hangar deck area. If someone started in communications, they would start on the communications area. It's very, very straightforward. Now, on the card here, you'll see there are 3 colors. In this case 4. At the beginning of her turn, the person who has this character draws 2 tactics cards, 2 piloting cards, and either the choice of 1 leadership or 1 engineering. So until you draw 5 cards, and that is your hand. Once you get over 10 cards in your hand, then you have to discard at the end of your turn. That's not always a bad thing. Okay. Now, when I was saying earlier how there's 2 positives and a negative, everybody has those. Hers, in this case, is she is insubordinate. When a player chooses you with the Admiral's quarters location, reduce the difficulty by 3. Basically means if somebody is trying to put you in the brig for suspecting you to be a Cylon, then there is a skill check involved, and it is 3 less than it is usually. For the positives, she has a once per game and a once per turn action. So her once per game is Secret Destiny. Once per game, immediately after a crisis card is revealed, discard it and draw a new one. That is a game changer and a lifesaver if you ever need one. Those can only be used once per game, and it should only be used when you're like really desperate or really in need. Her once per turn ability is when she starts a turn piloting a Viper, and that's one of those little ships here that we had. she starts in one of those. She gets an extra turn. She gets 2 actions instead of your action step. So everyone gets 2 actions, a movement and an action. So she can take a movement and 2 actions, which enables her to be a lot more deadly out in space in the combat. When you pick your character, you are given a card. Everybody gets a card. No one else is allowed to look at it. It'll tell you your loyalty or not. Depending on how many players there are, there could be more Cylons than there are humans. Obviously, Cylons are not humans. And you will get this card here. It will say, you are not a Cylon. It will have no effect. It just has a little description. It has Gaius Baltar just kind of being all chill. And there are many different Cylon cards. This one here is, her ability is you can send a player to the brig. And basically what happens is if you were in the brig and someone suspects you as being a Cylon, they will try and put you in the brig. If you are put in the brig and you reveal, it does nothing. If you are not in the brig, you can choose somebody else to put them in the brig, in which case you reveal that you are a Cylon and they get put in the brig and you leave the ship and you start attacking humans with the rest of them, and we'll go over that later. But you do not want to show anybody this card at all. At the beginning of the game, when you get your card, to read your action if you're a Cylon, everybody's usually given like a 30-second grace period in which everyone looks at their card in order to figure out just what they are. Usually people can memorize them. I have them all memorized, but I still look at it in the sense of fairness so that I don't read the card and everyone else puts their card down. They're like, oh, he's still reading, he must be a Cylon.